Hi, my name is Drew, and I'm a senior developer with Hero Technical Solutions. Here's our multi-part video series going over Zoho Analytics 101. In this video, we're going to go over report creation, and we're going to base it on the leads module. Now that we have our workspace set up at Zoho Analytics, we're going to pop into it here. And then from the side, there's this big plus. So if we click this, we can create a bunch of different things, but right now we're going to be looking in this new report slash dashboard section. So first, let's create a chart view, and we'll base it off of our leads. So here is the report page. Now, what report should you make? So we've come up with some business reasons to kind of base our reports off of. So the first business reason is my manager wanted a quick visual of lead sources so we can identify which marketing channels are driving the most activity and focus our budget on what's actually working. So to do that, what he's asking for is leads by source. So I'm gonna set my title leads by source first, and then now we need to decide what goes where and what kind of chart we're gonna make. So in this circumstance, we're gonna either show a pie chart or a bar chart and show you how easy it is to switch between the two. So for our leads by source, all we need is our lead source to start us off. So we find lead source on the side and drag this off. We'll put this into our x-axis. And then next, we just need a count of all the leads. So there's a few different ways we can do this, but we're going to do this by grabbing the ID, which is a unique identifier for the lead. And then it automatically moves over to count because it's smart enough to know. So if we click just generate this graph at this moment, this is what we've got. It defaults to a bar chart. We've also can flip it over to a pie chart if we'd like and see values around like this. But for the moment, we'll keep it in pie chart and we'll add a color as well. We'll add lead status as a color. Now we can better visualize these leads. Next, we're going to add a user filter. So there's two different types of filters. There is a regular filter, which is a behind the scenes filter that's always working. And then we have a user filter. And what the user filter is when we go to view it or we show this report off, the user can actually change the values on this filter. So again, we're just going to grab lead status and drop it over. So now that lead status is in there, we're probably just going to use the default values, but we can also go in and edit here and we can make some changes as well. So if we wanted to compare multiple lead statuses at once, we could do this. We could make sure it lists all the values, or we can only select some values if we want. Again, we're just going to keep it as the default settings here. And now we're pretty much done. We click this, and then if we click to our view mode, we should always view it before to make sure things look good. And if we want to check our lead status, so we can flip between them to make sure things are working correctly, and it looks good. So then we'll reset this, everything looks great. So now we're just going to save it. And it depends where you want to save it. You can have a whole folder structure if you want. I'm just going to save it in the default one for now. And we should have a description as well. But for example purposes, we'll just leave it like this. So that's how you go and create a chart view. Next, we're going to go and create a pivot view. We're going to create a different report. So if we go to leads as well, now what we're going to do is we're going to do leads by state and source. So I'm going to bring this over. And what we're going to do here, the reason we're going to do it is our regional sales manager asked for a breakdown of how different lead sources are performing across different states so they can see which regions are strongest for each campaign type and plan localized marketing strategies for each. So now all we need to do is we need to first of all bring our state in. So we need to find our state, but because we brought so many fields in, now it's getting a little clunky over here. So luckily we can just search it on the side. So we search state, we can grab it, and we want to throw this in our row. And then for columns, we need our lead source. So I'll just close this, and our lead source is right up here. But again, you can search it as well. I'm going to throw this under columns. And then again, we need a count. And like I said, any unique field will work here because we're just going to count it. but we'll grab the ID because it's the safest. We know for sure that it's going to work. And it defaults to count for us again. So perfect. Let's take a look. Generate our report. Now we can see exactly what we're looking at here. So we've got our state and we've got all of our different options. So like I said before, we can do the user filter, but I'll show you a filter this time. So you can filter out using anything. You could filter out using a field that's not even a part of this pivot if you'd like. But to make things simple, I'm just going to filter out Louisiana from our states. Not for any reason, just because it's a good example. And I know that one of the leads has it. So we just drag it into our filter here, nice and simple. And then we've got our different options. As we can see, they're just check boxes because we have actual. We can change it to a count. We can change it to a distinct count. And it all depends on your field type. So for example, if I brought in a date field, then we could do it based on a bunch of different options here. And if you click this drop down, you can change it to a seasonal period or a relative period. Relative periods typically work the best for these kinds of reports to keep it up to date. So if we only wanted to see leads that have had a last activity time very recently within the past 3 months, we can see that as well. But we'll stick with our state example here. So then if we wanted to filter out Louisiana, we want to click it here, but it defaults to include in. So if we were to generate it, we're only going to see the one state. What we want to do is click this drop down and click exclude. And there we go. Now we've removed Louisiana. And we'll also add another custom filter. This time we're going to add it based on created time. Now, this won't be super valuable because we are using example data, and the example data should all be created at the same time. But we do have this user filter in here now. Now that we've got this in, we're just, again, going to use the default values. So we can go to our view mode, make sure everything looks good, and we can change our created time. So the default for date fields when using as a user filter is you've got this date range, which is pretty great. So if I wanted to make it October 1st and then change the to date to the 24th, we would just do this. And again, because they were all created at the same time, we don't actually lose any data, but this is a great option as well. So now we're just going to save it as well. And you don't need to save from this page. You can also save in your edit page as well. And if you don't like the look of this, there's also a visuals and themes option where you can go in and you can customize how things look. But we're going to leave things default for now. So we'll click save. And again, we're going to save it in the exact same spot. And the last report we wanted to go over was the tabular view. So again, we're going to do tabular view based on leads. The reason we wanted to show off a tabular view versus a pivot view is there's not a massive amount of difference when you're just looking at it directly, but the tabular view makes it a little bit easier to sort columns and things like that. It's better if you want just a nice list of your leads, which is great because that's what we're doing this based off. We're going to call this one leads list. And our reason behind this one is our insider sales team wanted a clean list of all active leads with key details like company, email, and status so they can quickly sort, filter, and prioritize and follow-up calls and things like that with their leads. So now what we need to do is bring over company, email, and status. So let's bring them over. So we have company, email, and lead status. We'll click to generate. And this looks pretty good. We have to remember to bring in the lead's name. So if we just type in name, we can bring in first name, last name, or full name. We'll bring in full name and then click to generate. That looks a bit better. And then if we wanted to use group by section or block, if we go back to our state example and we group by section, now we can see how this looks here as well. And just to see the difference between section and block, if we bring this over to block and click generate, we can see that it's done on the side here. So I'm going to leave it group by block on the side here. And then from here, since we've already set up the filters and the user filters on the other reports, I'm just going to click save. But again, before we do that, just take a look how it looks in view mode, and then we're good to save it from here. And that's your video on creating reports. Thanks.